There's nothing like it, is there? No.
There's nothing like the sunrise, that first wave of the day.
The trip along the coastline.
It's right across the bay.
There's nothing like this ancient place.
The sunset from a camel.
This organism.
This billabong.
Oh, this dark-billed mammal.
Da 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 da. Da 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 da.
There's nothing like the people here.
Or here. Or here. Or there.
My mate's up here.
My friend's down there.
There's nothing like this bear.
That's not a bear.
There's nothing like this giant shrub.
Here's your up.
This bird. There's nothing like these furry things that bounce around in herds. There's nothing like Australia. There's nothing like Australia.
There's nothing like
This wondrous land from Darwin to Mount Drake.
There's nothing like the people here where everyone's your mate.
There's nothing like Australia. There's nothing like Australia. There's nothing like Australia. There's nothing like Australia.
When the story unfolded, were you there? Were you courtside? For the drama. The tension. The elation. Were you there? Cheering when a hope became a legend.
Defy the odds, the doubts.
And the stage lit up for the world to see. Were you there? The Australian Open. The story starts here.
Well, hello there.
Steve?
Hi, how are you, Steph?
I'm good. I was loving all the Australia stuff. That was some cool videos we had.
That was a cool video. It's on my bucket list. I want to get to Australia. I haven't been there yet, but it's definitely on my bucket list. And on top of that, I want to go in the summer during the Australian Open. Is that too much to ask for?
Now, do you want to go during our summer or the Australian summer? Because it's
Their
different.
summer. It's going on right now, isn't it?
Yep. So I was an exchange student in Australia, in Sydney and Cairns, and I got to see an opera at the Sydney Opera House. I saw Lucia de Lammermoor, which was probably, I think, the only opera I've ever seen. But I knew when I was there, I'm like, I don't care if I like opera or whatever. I have to see an opera at the Opera House. So I was lucky enough to be able to do that. And there's actually a bridge right near the Opera House that we used to just walk on just to like see, because you could see the Opera House in such a beautiful angle and view. And so like I'd go into Sydney as much as possible to hang out. So I am familiar. I didn't get to do much other than Sydney and Cairns, but I can't wait to go back and hang out again. So it's beautiful.
I'm a big tennis guy, and going to the Australian Open is a big on my list. And this is Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb. That's Stephanie McPhail. I'm Steve Vaccaro here every Wednesday night from 5 to 7 p.m. And we have an amazing guest here today, Todd Polke. But before we get to that, let's tell everybody about your book, Stephanie, in case we have some new viewers from down under.
Sure. Well, my book is Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt. I wrote this book really feeling like it was kind of, I had no choice. I had to write this book. And it was really sharing my story of overcoming the cycle of toxic relationships and sharing the story of other people that had also overcome it and went on to live their best lives. And the hope for it is that I will inspire other people to let them know that no matter what they've experienced, what they've seen in their lives so far, that could just be the beginning of, or a way to catapult them to the next level of their lives. So you can get it on Amazon. It's available all over the world. So feel free to get a copy of it and read it, share it with anyone that might be currently in a toxic relationship, or maybe is out and wondering, is it possible to create something better? Or am I kind of destined to be only with unhealthy people? So again, it's on Amazon. Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt. And I have a workbook with it too, in case you're looking for steps to start taking action immediately on healing.
It's such a much needed book here in the States and over the pond there too as well. Our nonprofit Chapters Community Support Services works with families and children and young people in transition through a whole bunch of services, clinical services, networking, collaboration, support, and providing that safe platform. We have a network of shows, 18 shows, where we have many, many amazing hosts and people behind the scenes that doing great work, including Stephanie herself and the work that we've been doing. We're doing this for 3 years now. So we're really doing, the average podcaster out there does it 8 times. So we've been doing it for 3.5 years almost, or 3 years. And our network's been going on for a couple of years now. So we're trying to provide that platform and empower and inspire others through all the works that we do.
And you really do great work. And you know, it's always kind of funny to me that we met at a fundraiser and you found out I was an author and said, we've got to chat. And then you interviewed me. You're like, you need to come. We need to come in studio. And I said, who is this guy? Like, this sounds really awesome. And then there we are in studio. And, you know, we got to actually go live once, and then the whole world shut down and we moved over to virtual. But, you know, we made, you know, juice out of, or, you know, lemon juice out of, or lemonade out of lemons, try to find my words, but we were able to find something good out of the negative stuff. And I think that that's really important for anyone watching, is to just keep reminding yourself that wherever we're stuck, we just have to figure out how to turn things around. We don't have to stay trapped there.
That's right. Any New Year's resolutions for you?
You know, not really. I tend not to make New Year's resolutions. I just think that for me, the biggest goal is really going to be to keep up leveling my business. Because I think especially the helpers, it's not always easy for us to understand the big, broad scope of the change that we create by helping every single person. So the more people that I can help, the more the world will become a better place, because they'll feel better about themselves, and in turn, they'll be treating friends and family better. So my big goal, I think, is just business-wise, to get my name more out there, continue growing my business, and continue expanding. What about you?
I started a list. I put it on my refrigerator, and I have, there it is, resolutions, finish thing I start one, and haven't finished 2, 3, 4, or 5 yet.
That sounds about right.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. You were supposed to say, no, that's not you at all.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Okay. Well, do you like penguins?
Of course. I mean, there's cute little legs. Just little...
Cute little legs, right? Well, we have a little penguins taking selfies, you know, and doing all kinds of things. We got penguins. You know, they kind of look the same, but in Australia, they have this annual penguin race. We're going to show that a little bit before we bring our guest on. Let's check it out.
Welcome to Phillip Island, Victoria in Australia. What a setting we have for this great sporting contest, the Little Penguin Sea to Dune race. Nervous moments always as they gather on the beach, the tension mounting, and away they go. There's the defending champion, wearing his familiar navy blue and white, great waddling style. Another pre-race favourite though, losing touch with the pack. Maybe that's why. A few too many fish in the day's feeding. There's a familiar face, Skip McIntyre, 8 times a champion back in the 90s, a very successful coach now, keeping a keen eye on proceedings. This the leading group, 1 or 2 still able to put on a show for the camera, others just ploughing straight over it. Some resorting to shortcuts. Sad that cheating has crept into this beautiful sport. The judges will have a look at that. But up at the front, the pace is relentless, closing in on those sand dunes that will offer a bed for the night. The fatigue starting to tell. Who's got the finishing kick up on the outside? What a turn of pace from that one, whichever one it is. No answer from the rest, and he takes victory. What a win. There we are, into the Burrow, building an extension with his winnings, and back tomorrow to try and defend his title here on Phillip Island.
What a race, huh?
That was amazing. And I don't know if anybody knows anything about Australians, but they love their sports. So this just makes complete sense that there would be that would be a commentator. penguins.
There we go. We both agree we love Australia, but I have a question before ask you before we bring our special guest on, who you'll introduce. Is it today? Is it January 11th or is it January 12th? What are we going by here right now?
Kind of both. I mean, for us, we're still today, the 11th, but we're going to have a guest from the future, which is so cool.
Wow, I don't think we ever had one of those.
I mean, no.
No.
Oh, well, we had someone from Bali.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah,
the future. Yeah.
yeah.
One.
Well,
one other.
One other one. Why don't you do the honors of introducing our great guest today?
All right. Well, I'm going to try to see how good my eyes are here. Ted Polk has been a professional investor, wealth strategist, and educator for over 16 years. Todd is the author of the book Thrive Through Prosperity and has been featured heavily in Australia's top investment media, including Sky News, Your Money, Smart Property Investment, Australian Property Investment Magazine, Your Investment Property Magazine, among others. An educator at heart, Todd has been speaking and educating on stages across Australia and internationally, covering topics ranging from property investment, wealth strategy, shares and trading, cryptocurrencies, business, and a lifestyle design, and more. So today we have the honor of introducing Todd, who I've been having a great time chatting with before he came on as a guest. I think you're going to love him. So everyone do me a favor and let's welcome Todd onto the show.
Thank you so much. That penguin race was absolutely incredible. I haven't seen that in Australia being broadcast like that. So amazing how it's just popped up in the US like that. It's incredible.
Well, you know what us Americans are going to do? We're going to do things that you never really seen in Australia, but we think you see it all the time.
Yeah. No, definitely not. But I'm really happy you showed me that. It's going to be a yearly thing for me now, just like the Australian Open might be for you. I'm going to Phillip Island every year to watch the penguin weight races from now on. That's my new plan. So thank you very much. You introduced me to something very new.
I love it.
Todd, we're so blessed to have you on today because you're doing such great work for so many people internationally. I know you travel a lot. You're a well-known author, and you're really setting a tone and inspiring, empowering others to change their lifestyles. So welcome to our show, Kick on Healthy Relationships to the Curb.
I really appreciate it. It's so good to be on here with you guys, especially dialing in from the future, as you just said. So yeah, I'm pumped to be here and love what you guys do, and just love how all these topics and around what we, relationships and money and health, it all just impacts each other. It just works together in this beautiful system. So I look forward to being able to share some stuff and hear some stuff from you guys today as well.
Thank you. You know, this show originated in the heels of the beginning of the pandemic, and as we look back in time, the early reports were coming from Australia for the pandemic at that time in 2020. What's your thoughts on your experience back then when it first broke out?
Yeah. Look, I have some quite specific thoughts on it, to be honest. Like, I saw a lot of fear. I saw a lot of panic with people. I saw a lot of, I guess, media manipulation going on at the same time, and how it actually impacted people's state of being and things like that. Some of it might have been seemed useful. Some of it might have been unnecessary. I saw a lot of stuff, quite frankly, that I didn't like. I just want to be really honest. Like, I saw a lot of stuff I really didn't like,
right?
In how I saw the governments reacting, and how I saw the lockdowns, and how I saw the overreactions, and how I saw it impact people's lives in such a significant way that it can take a lot for them to recover. So, I mean, it's accelerated some underlying trends which are already going on, which is an interesting thing in the marketplace, and how we're actually going to be interacting in life in the future. But what I saw was overbearing governments jumping in and manipulating people's situations, and really causing a lot of damage. And we saw this in the global financial crisis as well. And that in the end, it's a lot of everyday people that tend to suffer because of it. So a lot of overreactions is my, in hindsight, type of view is what I really want to share in a very, I'm trying to be very gentle in how I say this at the same time.
I hear you. It's obviously each country has their own take on it, and the people within the country have their own take on it as well. It's probably very polarizing around the world. Yeah. So I appreciate your initial candid comments about that. But for you, as the work that you do, did you have to pivot was it harder for you, or did you change your ways to reach out to others during the start of this?
Yeah, it was, in terms of pure business standpoint, it was a great gift, right? It really was, right? I used to travel around and speaking on stages, almost 150 to 200 days a year. And so what that meant is that I was on planes all the time, in hotels all the time, and away from more than I would like with my daughter, and being able to do the normal things, like just the things I value, like just going to the gym every day, for example. So for me, being able to actually, oh, wow, I get to do this from a home base, and it accelerated this digital adoption, and where, podcasting, what you guys are doing, and everything being online is just a norm of how it's done right now. Like, we made a very rapid pivot, but it was also a very beautiful pivot. And we've been able to reach a lot more people because of it. So from a pure, like, let's serve as many people as we can standpoint, I think it was an absolutely huge gift, and accelerated underlying trends, which were already happening. So I thought that was a really interesting substrata, so to speak, of everything else that was going on.
It's funny because I hear that from so many guests and friends, business owners, and I'm really in the same boat. I mean, my business, once the pandemic started, my business completely skyrocketed. It was good for business, which made me feel bad for the people that were struggling and having a hard time. But for us to be able to we were already online. And then, like you said, I was on so many summits and podcasts and doing all these different, virtual things, where we were getting all these new influxes of people and more clients and, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see that for so many, it was harmful and hurtful. And then for others, it was like really a major catalyst for change for us, because it helped us.
What's really interesting about that, though, is that I feel it should have given a lot of people a giant kick up the backside as well, which is needed. And what I mean by that is that if anyone is just relying upon a boss, or relying upon the government to take care of them, or their boss to take care of them, or the traditional ways of work or life or earning money, if that's the only pillar that you're relying upon to be able to take care of yourself and take care of your family, then it brings up this really strong vulnerability. And so sometimes these things, although they can be really difficult, I also think they can end up being the greatest gift. Like, if we zoom out a little bit and people take the message of it, and they take that understanding that, wow, like, I really got impacted during this period of time now. What can I do now to make sure that never happens again in the future? I think it can be an incredible gift. Like, whenever someone says to me, a client might come up to me and they go, oh, I got made redundant, right, from a job, and they're feeling really down. I'm sitting there going, I'm thinking, wow, congratulations. What an opportunity. What an opportunity to rethink life, rethink how you've been doing life up until this point in time, and to be able to set yourself up so that you never have to have that experience ever again. So if we look on the other side of the coin, if people take the message, this could be one of the greatest gifts.
For me, it hit me both ways. I'm a psychologist, so a lot of my work was working with hands-on in the community and working in school systems. And in the United States, the first day or two, everybody was furloughed or lost their jobs, and I was one of those people. But unfortunately, I was able to pivot and use social media with the help of my co-host here, Stephanie McPhail, to create a network of shows that's inspiring, providing a platform, and to do what I do in a different way. So now I'm gone back to the traditional counseling and therapy, but also I have this whole virtual world. I was able to pivot, just like you said, Todd. I think it was a kick in the butt for some of us, because we were faced with this scenario that our governments were leading the way, and we really couldn't say too much about it. We just had to kind of figure out what the new rules were, right?
Yeah. And so I'm curious, Steve, for you, as you're going back into practice, like, are you going back in exactly the same way you're doing things before? Are you doing a bit of a hybrid? Like, how's that going to look for you now?
It's a hybrid now, because now I go back in, because some people now are dealing with anxiety or depression, and they don't want to go out, or different things. So I'm working with families that way. So like you said, to cut down on time and to help others, the virtual thing is definitely the way to go. But clinically, traditionally, I feel you can't rely on that 100% of the time in the work that I do. but I've developed a way where it works, and you have to pivot. But that pivoting was, I had to do that immediately to create this, and Stephanie was a major support to that.
But I think that exactly what Todd's saying was the key, is that you had to be willing to pivot. You had to be willing to look at it and say, what have I done wrong? What could I do differently? What could I learn from the experiences that I've had to change things? The people that were like, let me just keep trying to do the exact same thing. You know, we know the definition of insanity. Those people came out feeling really stressed out and overwhelmed because they didn't change. Those who took the message and said, okay, I mean, I moved cross country. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to live in New York where I'm spending a whole bunch of money on taxes and, you know, my house and all these other things. I'm going to move cross country where it's cheaper. I can get a better house. I can have a better life for my family, have my, make sure my business is working well. And I really, everything was turned around. And I took that as, wow, I can really change in a positive way, where other people, their lives turned around and they were like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I think that exactly what you said is key.
And the genesis, I'm sorry, sir, the genesis of this show, Steph and I did one show live in studio right before the pandemic hit. That's the only show we ever did. And the pandemic hit. So we could have shut it down right then and there, but we developed a way where we could do it virtually. And then Stephanie moved from New York to Texas during the last couple of years. And we've continued to do this show to provide a platform for people like yourself and to share your knowledge and your experience and your talent with people that really need to see that. So this is one of my proudest moments in all the career that I've had, to work with Stephanie and to have people like you on the screen, because now we're helping people worldwide.
We could have never had Todd in studio, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, unless you pay for our trip to Australia.
We're all going to the Phillip Island penguin races on the way to.
Yeah.
That's what we'll be doing.
There we go. But Todd, share with our viewers and listeners out there exactly what you do and what gives you the passion to do it.
Yeah. And I got started doing what I'm doing from a space of disruption, and what we're talking about right now with the pandemic and that everything has happened. And I mentioned before about the GFC, these are moments of disruption in our lives that come along, right? And we can get those in many different ways. And how I got started doing what I'm doing was honestly from a space of personal disruption, right? So before I got involved in the investment world, and so I've been teaching, speaking, and training around wealth creation and investing for around 18 to 19 odd years now. But before I got involved in this, I was a personal trainer in the health field. And so my day would wind up being up at 4 a.m. in the morning, finishing at 12 at night after finishing all the business things. So working 16, 17 hours a day, doing that 6 days a week, doing that 50 weeks of a year, because I thought the way to create success in life was, as long as I work hard, that everything else is just going to work out for me. And it wasn't working like that at all. Like my relationship I had at the time was failing miserably, obviously, because I wasn't investing in it at the level I needed to. At the same time, my health was failing. Like I was getting sick all the time, personal trainer getting sick all the time. Congratulations. Well done, Todd. That's great. But also after working all those hours, I realized that my financial situation wasn't changing at all. And I got to the end of a particular year and I just thought, wow, this is broken. This whole system of life that I was playing by, which is just work hard and everything's going to work out and exchange time for money and all those different programs that were taught along the way, I realized that system is broken. And it was from that place of disruption where I go, do you know what? There's got to be a better way. And that's when I started attending live events. Now, I don't even remember what they are anymore. I used to speak all the time and I've barely been on stage in 4 years. It's been crazy. But I used to go to all those live events and we didn't have podcasts and, webinars and things back at that point in time. And I started to meet some people and I started to experience some things, some people who are doing life in a bit of a different way. And I learned that if I didn't get my money working hard for me, then I was going to spend my entire life literally working hard for money. And at that point in time, I made a decision to buy my first property in about 6 months' time from when I started learning these things. Didn't have any money, so I had to try and figure it out along the way. Got that first property deal done, made more in that first property deal in the space of 9 months than I was making in my entire year's income in what I was doing as a personal trainer. And my whole view of the world, my whole frame of how to live life literally shifted from that point. And I dove head deep into it, if that's the right way to put it. I don't know. Head first into it is what I'm trying to say. And at that point in time, I just started studying what successful people do and how successful investors work and what they do. And I'm a teacher at heart. It's what I love to do. I used to teach in health and well-being. Now I just teach in money to help people to be able to free themselves to live the life that they want, unlimited by how much money they earn. And so that's kind of what I've been doing for the last kind of 17, 18 odd years now, with property and shares and cryptos and metals and business and a whole other different strategies.
That's awesome. I knew I liked you. I was a health educator for 18 years. That's what I did before this whole coaching background. So yeah, I mean, nutrition and health to me, like, it's so important to have that as your, as your base, because if you're not healthy, you're not going to live the rest of your life well. And I love the fact that you were realizing, like, hey, here I am teaching other people how to be healthy, and I'm sick and feeling terrible. And I'm sure you weren't exercising as much as you could have, and you weren't getting all the nutrition and water and sleep and all that, which really takes a toll on you. So now to be able to take that knowledge and be able to go back to taking care of you, which we all need to make a responsibility, or, make a priority for us, but then also be able to help other people get unstuck. I mean, that's a beautiful gift that you were able to share.
What's interesting about that, though, and what I really took out of that was, I was kind of at a point living out of integrity of what I knew I should be doing in terms of my health. Mm-hmm. But what was really interesting for me is how that underlying programming of, if I just work hard, right? It's a belief system I had. It was an underlying program I had. It was what I was taught my entire life is what I should do, just work hard. How I allowed that to override everything else that I knew. Right. And it's interesting when I think about that, how often do we allow that to happen in different parts of our life, whether it be money, whether it be relationships, whether it be, career, or whether it be lifestyle, of how we allow those underlying patterns and belief systems that we often inherit from other people. And then we make those things so important in our life and more important than the things that we really know that we should be doing. And I think that's true in money. I think it's true in health. I think it's true in relationships. And that was probably one of the biggest takeaways I had from having that experience over and above just the financial aspect of it, if that makes sense.
I think one of the biggest disservices we do to ourselves is just do what we think we're supposed to do. It's a terrible place to get into, because when you just do what you're supposed to do, you're not doing what your heart is calling you to do. But you're not opening your mind and your abilities to create more for yourself. You're just following somebody else's ideas. And most of the time it's our parents and upbringing that did the best they could. They gave us information that they thought would help us. So, nothing wrong with that. But you get to a point where it's like, wait a minute, this was great to have this information, but I need to create something different for myself. I need to create what's right for me, as opposed to just following what's been done before.
No doubt. This is Kick on Healthy Relationships to the Curb. That's Stephanie McPhail. I'm Steve Vaccaro. Our wonderful guest, Todd Polke, here. We're talking about the efforts after the pandemic, during the pandemic, pivoting, and how we're helping others. Todd, what's the most challenging aspect of what you do, but also the rewarding aspect? Because you're affecting so many people. You're an inspirational speaker. You empowering the lives of so many people. But to get down to it, what's the most challenging thing for you and the most rewarding when you see somebody pivot?
Yeah, really, really good question. What is the most challenging thing for me? And this may be a little bit different than what you might think I'd be saying, right? What the most challenging thing for me is really seeing people, just kind of piggybacking off what I was saying before, is how people have just followed life, right? And they've done what they've supposed to have done. They've gone to school and they've studied hard, and then they've gotten a safe, secure job, and they've gone to try and buy a home because that's what we're supposed to do. And then we get married because that's what we're supposed to do. We have kids because that's what we're supposed to do. We get a nice big mortgage and buy lots of things to impress our friends because that's what we're supposed to do. We put money away into our retirement things because that's what we're supposed to do. And maybe we do a little bit of this because that's what we're supposed to do. And what I tend to find is that a lot of people get caught in this default life pattern. And they get to, after, a decade, 20 years, 30 years of their life, and then they sit there and go, I thought life was supposed to be about more than just this. I thought it was supposed to be about more than just working to pay the bills. I thought it was more than just about a mortgage, or only accepting that I can have 2 days a week of a weekend to actually enjoy myself, and I get given my 2 to 4 weeks holiday a year. And I see a lot of people get stuck in this financial slavery trap. And it actually impacts me really, really deeply, right? I have my core underlying belief is that freedom is our birthright, right? That's my core underlying driving factor, that freedom is our birthright. And freedom isn't just like, financial freedom. It's also the emotional freedom. It's also location freedom. It's also opportunity freedom. It's the absolute core to me. And what I have found is that for a lot of people, their freedom, just the way that we're taught and how we're supposed to live life and what we do, which is industrial age idea of the education system, is that freedom has been taken away. And I see a lot of people in a lot of pain. I see a lot of people depressed. I see a lot of people, really questioning meaning in life and things like that. And it actually impacts me really, really deeply. And I actually think that's one of the toughest things that I tend to see. But at the same time, it's also the biggest opportunity for me, because it is that underlying driver for me. I know by giving people some really simple things, some really simple tools, that it can radically transform their future. And seeing someone who's committed to transforming their future, maybe they don't know how, but that they have the courage to take the step away from what they've always done and what everybody else does, that takes a lot of courage to actually take that first step. And then being able to support people in that journey, I mean, that's a beautiful gift. And I treasure that beyond anything. I really do.
I hear you. I mean, that's one of the things, even for myself, and I work mostly with women, but we're so often told that in order to have value, we have to be married, we have to have children, we have to, work full time, but also be a mom full time and do all the things. And
super mom. Yeah.
And it's like super overwhelming and really, really stressful. And when I was married for the first time, my tester marriage, I'll call it. I just remember at one point being like, wait, this is it? Like, I went to school, I got my master's degree, I had a great job, I bought a house when I was young, I had done all the things that I was supposed to do. And then here I was in this really terrible marriage. And I kept thinking, is this it? Is this really what it is? And luckily, I decided to follow that little voice that was inside of me telling me there was more. But I think one of the hardest things, even for me and what I do, is helping kind of turn up that little voice inside of each person's soul and say, you're right. There is more for you. You don't have to follow what the things that you're supposed to do. You can do more. And so I love what you're saying in that, because you don't have to stay stuck. I mean, when I told my parents I was quitting my full-time tenured teaching position in New York, they were like, oh, you can't. And I'm like, I promise that I will be okay. I will be okay. But it was hard for them to be, understanding of that.
Same with me. Like, my parents still don't understand what I do. My father literally said to me a week ago, Dad, I've been doing this for 20 years now. And he goes, I still don't understand what you do, because to him, his version of life is, no, you got your paycheck. And as long as you got your paycheck, and then that's okay. And you got a safe, secure job. I don't understand how you could do this possible thing. And it was just so hard for him to wrap his head around and to change that underlying understanding of his, right? But what I loved about what you just said then was how you help people to turn up that little voice, right? And I think that is such a beautiful thing, because so often we can try and suppress that little voice, and we can try and like push it down and pull the rug over it and pull the doona over it and just pretend it's not there and placate ourselves and going, no, it's okay. Oh, I should just be grateful for what I have right now. And no, this is how we're supposed to do things. And we suppress who we actually are and dial it down until for some people, it almost becomes inaudible and they don't even hear it anymore. And that's a really, really sad moment. And like you, I had a test marriage. And I know for myself, I kept turning that dial down because I was attached to this blueprint. Was that, I get married and I need to have kids and I need to have the white picket fence. I need to have this. I need to have this. And so I started ignoring the underlying things, which I knew were problems, right? They were bothering me day in and day out, but I kept suppressing it because no, I have to do this, right? So I love that idea of that. You want to dial that up and actually make it more louder until you can't ignore it anymore.
Todd, do you think when you're talking to people in any kind of setting, in any kind of way, that their adversity makes them who they are now? And we all have gone through adversity. Do you think if we didn't have those adversities, wherever they are, we wouldn't be doing the things we're doing today?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I wholeheartedly believe that, right? Challenge helps us grow. And, in relationships, our partner, a good partner will challenge us, and they challenge us and put the mirror in front of us as well. And it allows us to bring up our stuff so that we can actually deal with it, and we can look at it and face it head on and be able to grow. Like the challenge we have financially in health, if there's lessons in all of these, and these can be the most important lessons that we could possibly have if we are willing to take the lesson. Unfortunately, some people won't look at the lesson. They look at how they've been hard done by. And it's that victim mentality versus kind of appreciation mentality, I guess, right? And although I know there's some really tough things that happen to people, and they really suck. But when we can actually go, okay, I can take the opportunity, I can take the growth out of this, I can take the learning out of this, I can take the understanding out of this. And if they embrace that, you're going to be in a much different situation in the future and a much different person in the future, because in life, we only create who we are. And when we can actually understand those challenges and how they can be potentially the greatest learning and pivot points in our life, we might look back on it and go our greatest gifts. I know that's the same for me, like whether it be from that moment where I remember at 19 years old and I was broken, like relationship broken, health was broken, finances broken, I was broken. Now I look back on it and go, what an incredible gift it was. I look back at the separation in my marriage, and it was so gut-wrenching at the time and so difficult at the time. But now I look back on it and go, thank you. Like, thank you for that relationship. Thank you to my ex-wife because of what I learned from it and who I am right now. I look at it at times of, I've lost everything before financially because I made some mistakes in some of the things I was doing, like, well over a decade now ago. Wow, now I'm an infinitely better coach now because I know how to protect people and I know how to protect them and protect their families. So to me, it's the absolute greatest gift.
I just had a conversation with a former client, and she was like, I know that I need to take the next step, but I'm just so scared. And I said, listen, just because it hurts, it doesn't mean it's wrong. And I think that that's where we get sucked into. We want to go away from pain and go towards pleasure. But sometimes in order to get to pleasure, we've got to step into the pain. We've got to feel that discomfort in order to move forward from it. And I think any of us that have had some major life events that have happened to us, which we all have. I mean, you get to a certain point, we've all had something that's gone on for us. You realize that moment, like this too shall pass. It's not going to always be this way. There's always that potentiality to move forward and grow from it. I mean, for my toxic relationships from the past that I've had, I am so grateful. I am grateful I'm out of it. I'm grateful for the learning. I'm grateful for all the things that I experienced, because now I get to take that pain, that discomfort, and now I get to share it with other people to help them out of their pain. So yeah, I love what you're saying. And to kind of just turn things just a little bit, I really would love to know from you, as someone who's so good with finance, who's seen, has had the experience and all of that, when someone leaves their relationships, whether it's a divorce or a breakup, they've had their finances together, what would you recommend? And I'll say to men and women, I mean, it could be either direction, where our finances get screwed up after we end a relationship. What would you recommend for them to do in order to start building their lives back and starting to build their portfolios and not be so worried about money like so many people are when they have to go through a divorce?
Yeah, it's an incredible question. I always joke with a lot of my clients, especially couples, is that I think about, 60 to 70% of what I do is actually relationship counseling when it comes to money, because money can honestly just bring up so many things in relationships. And one of the key things that people argue about, because you've got two people coming in with two different frames of the world of how they view money and what they think about money, not understanding each other's traumas around or beliefs around money, and then trying to interact in this beautiful mess without understanding how to actually unpack it, right? And that's I see it literally all the time, and you get these two people butting heads. Now, the first thing I would always say is that for people that are in a relationship now, I don't ever believe that you should just go, no, my wife or my husband deals with the finance side of things. I think you're in a partnership, and although there's usually one person who's a little bit more interested than the other, or the driver than the other, and one might be more of a driver around education for kids or something, for example, and we might take different roles, but having that understanding, that empowerment around finances is really important, because otherwise I've seen so many people, and unfortunately especially women, get trapped in relationships due to finances when there's kids involved in a lot of things, and it's really, really sad to see. But when we start to step out of a relationship, and we can, and I totally get it. I mean, I got impacted massively from a separation, and a lot of people do. And we have this experience where we might be feeling like we're starting from scratch. To me, it's always the foundations that need to be built first, right? Wealth creation and financial freedom, or financial security, whatever you want to call it, it's not an overnight game. It's not a get rich quick strategy. And a lot of people think that. But the problem with that is that get rich quick means short-term thinking, and short-term thinking sacrifices long-term results, right?
Right.
And so when we are sitting there looking at, as we come out of any situation, we've got to sit there and go, okay, wow, all right, take responsibility for where we are right now and what we're going to do next. And that's always the first step. Nothing changes until we take total and unequivocal responsibility for where we are right now, and importantly for what we're going to do next, because that's empowering. When everything else is someone else's fault, or woe is me because this happened, or this, then it's not in our power. It's not in our sphere of control. And so we've got to start bringing back the locus of control around our future and around our finances into our own hands to begin with. That's always step number one to me. But step number two is then we go, okay, I don't want to be where I am right now, but where do I want to be in 5 years' time? Or where do I want to be in 10 years' time? Or where do I want to be in 12 months' time? And where we can start creating these bigger targets and micro targets, we then have an inspiring future that we can actually start to move forward. We acknowledge the fact that we're not where we are. We then take responsibility for where we are and what we're going to do. But then we go, let's create something better in the future and what that's going to look like. Then the third step is foundations to me. And foundations is coming back to the single dollar that comes in your bank account. Most people that I meet, they have this mystery of the universe called evaporating money. I don't know if you've had that experience before, evaporating money, where money comes into your life and it just magically dissipates into the universe.
Are you reading my mind there, Todd?
I am. Yeah, it's one of my other skill sets, mate. Like, I can read, read minds, right? And this, but it's this. I see this all the time. Money comes into people's lives, and then it just magically evaporates. Mm-hmm. And the fundamental reason is because they don't have a personal finance system. Right. And what I mean by that is that we want to have a system that as soon as a dollar hits your bank account, it has a plan and it has a purpose. And that might sound complex, but it's not. It's all it's simply being is that going, okay, what are the different arenas that I have in my life that I need to take care of financially? I have this amount of money coming in. Money loves a plan. Money loves a purpose. There is an energy to money, and we want to be giving it a purpose. We want to be giving it a plan, and then make sure it knows exactly where it's going. So as soon as that dollar hits, it knows exactly where it's going, and then you use technology just to automate it. So you like just online banking, things like that, and so you don't have to think about it, and you remove the human error or the human side of I'm busy in life, I've got this going on, I've got this going on from it. And we have this foundation, and that I want to share one more thing that will really support people. But that personal financial system will make a huge difference. And the other thing that I would say to anybody, and this is probably the number one habit, that if people were to deploy this into their life, it'll radically transform their financial future. And this is the idea of having a money night. Now, one thing I teach all of my clients is that 1 hour, once a week, you set aside time just to take care of your money. Now, for most people, the only time they look at their money is when there's a bill to pay, when there's an emergency, when it's tax time, or when it's too late. That's when most people actually look at their money. And so money is a very passive thing in their life that they're not in control of, right? But when we can set up this 1 hour once a week just to focus on taking care of our finances and our foundations, that number one habit, and I have a process how you run that money night. There's 4 steps, but that number one habit will transform your financial future more than literally anything else. And the beautiful part about that is that anybody could do it, right? To me, you want to make your financial security and your financial freedom as normal to you as paying a bill. right? And that's what it needs to start looking like. And anybody could do it. I don't care what situation anybody is in. It does not matter. Everybody has the opportunity to take that first micro step towards creating a better financial future for themselves.
Now that reminds me, and I'm sure Steve wants to jump in here, but that reminds me that I used to, so my bank account is set up so that it has like the necessities, and then it has long-term investments, short-term investments, education, fund, like all those, it's all set up. But lately there hasn't been, it's just been like necessities. I haven't been allotting to the other places. So I'm kind of reminding myself, like, I need to get back to doing that. I used to be really good at doing that. But the other thing that, as you were saying, that 1 hour, this just shows like how money is so subconscious. When you, as soon as you said you need to put aside 1 hour every week, I had this flashback to my childhood of my parents balancing their checkbook once a week, and there being like fights. It was like everybody was mad at, like, they were both mad at each other. Like, why did you spend this? Why did you do that? And that's, and so if you listen to that, if anybody else had that experience growing up, I could see that some people, and myself may be included in there, where you might avoid that. You want to avoid those things that are like, I don't know if that's going to feel so good, so let's avoid that. So some of us become like money monks. Some of us become money, what do you call it, where you don't deal with it, avoid it, money avoidant, you know, all those kinds of things because of those experiences that we've had. And so what you're saying is great. And if anyone is saying to themselves, I can't do that, or it's not possible, I would ask myself, is there something subconsciously keeping you from being able to do that because of maybe something you experienced before?
I mean, I got to piggyback on that too, because I mean, that 1 hour per week, no one dedicates something like that. And it's such a, it sounds easy to do, but if you schedule that, it can open up a lot of things. When I grew up in a single parent family and different foster homes, but when I was with my mom, we didn't have a lot of money. So the first 2 weeks we would live okay off welfare, and Social Security was great. But then the last 2 weeks rolled around, we had nothing. There was no money planning at all. And it took me a while to kind of figure that out. So I don't need that $20 anymore, Stephanie, after the show tonight. So we're good. So, but seriously, it's these patterns. It takes you back when you were a kid, that you have to fight that avoidance or that acceptance, and put that time, dedicate that time to pivot and really create that foundation. That's what you're saying.
I call it your money lens, right? That's what I talk about, right? Every single person has a money lens, and that money lens is created by, okay, well, we grow up and we learn these certain things from family. We learn it from school. We learn it from society. We learn it from media, and we learn these certain things around what life is, what money is, what relationships is, and then we adopt those belief systems as our own. I use that word adopt really specifically because most of the belief systems we have are not ours. We just inherited them from somebody else's, and then we've repeated them enough, seen them enough, that we've gone that this is the way life is, and then we start going and repeating them in day-to-day life. Because we do them in day-to-day life, we then get we take a certain set of actions, we do that action repeatedly, which then becomes a habit. Because it's a habit, we only get our habits. That habit creates a result. Now we get a result which reinforces the habit loop that we were just creating. And then we create this ceiling around what life is supposed to be, and what money is supposed to be, and what we should expect and what we shouldn't expect. And this is just who we are. And when we can actually start to understand, well, what was the underlying thing that could have created that? Like, Steph, you were talking about that money used to equal fights. Well, then you can link up that money equals pain. And if money equals pain, then I better make sure I don't have any money. Right. And for other people, they go, well, money might equal scarcity. Right. And well, because I grew up in this way, I shouldn't expect any more. Like, this is the way life is. I should just have that. For other people, they listen to the media, and it's interesting in the media, all the movies, all the evil people in movies are wealthy, and all the heroes are poor.
Yeah.
Right. And so we then might adopt those going, well, that's just the way it is. So if evil, if you have wealth, it means you're greedy. It means you're evil. And well, I don't want to be evil or greedy. So I better, and what will my friends think of me? And so I better not make sure I don't do that. And we have these hidden saboteurs set up in our life, which is keeping us at this set point that we created all the way off and back when we were kids.
Interesting point. Very interesting. This is Kick on Healthy Relationships to the Curb. That's Stephanie McPhail. I'm Steve Vaccaro, and Talking Money with Todd Polke here. We're coming down to the home stretch here. Let's talk about your book a little bit, Thrive Through Property. Talk about that.
Yeah, look, I wrote this book a number of years ago now, and I've got another one coming out, which I'm really, really excited about and really pumped about, right? One of the core beliefs that I have around everything I do is that money is just a tool, right? That's all it is. A lot of people, we've been talking a lot about this, and I think it serves in this conversation around relationships, a lot of things. We've been talking a lot about it today around the underlying beliefs that a lot of people have around money and they have around wealth. One of my core beliefs is that just money is a tool, right? It's neither good or bad. It just is. It's just what we choose to do with it. And I think that everybody should create wealth. I think that we should all create as much wealth as we possibly can in our life. Handle home base being us, but then give back to something bigger than ourselves, and let's leave the world in a better place. And so what you'll see when I'm coming back to the book, what you'll see in around everything I teach and everything I write and everything I do is that you don't have to have money to make money. You don't have to have come from the right school, or come from the right this, or be a financial genius, or even be good at math. I failed math at school, right? Every single person can do it. And that is one of the most important belief systems that I want everybody to start taking on as their own. It is possible for you. And so when I wrote this book, it was really from the standpoint of that, do you know what? I want you to thrive through life, right? And how can you use property as that vehicle? How can you use property as that tool to be able to give you the financial options and the financial capacity to be able to go live a life unlimited by how much money you earn? And that's what I believe is everyone's, the opportunity that's in front of everybody right now. And so this book is really fundamentally all around, well, how can we take one step at a time from where you are right now, no matter what situation you're starting in, and how can you make sure that you take these strategic steps one piece at a time based on your situation to really radically transform your financial future? And we do that through property. We can do it through cryptos. We can do it through metals. We can do it through business. We could do it through equities or shares or anything like that. It's really just such a possibility for everybody.
Well, Todd, we got a couple of videos that you put together, and we also can see. One's a shorter video, and we'll talk about it, and then we'll pop in the other video too. Let's go to the shorter one first, and let's check it out.
Lending, the economy, like there's just so much going on. So it's absolute mayhem out of there. I think a lot of people, where they get caught up in it, is they get all consumed by it, and they can't actually see outside the box or can't see anything apart from what is potentially the downsides. But in every marketplace that is having a correction, there's always an equal and opposite opportunity as well. So I actually love these markets. I get really excited when we get into these type of marketplaces. There's so much opportunity coming down with the the rest of everyone else out of the marketplace. So I absolutely love it.
I mean, those platforms are so important for you to get yourself out there.
Yeah, look, I mean, the more that we can spread these messages, the better. And that one there was actually recorded a number of years ago, that particular one, but it's still just as relevant today. Like what I was talking about there was that the market was correcting at that point in time. Mm-hmm. And so we're seeing this happen in a lot of different countries right now. Well, you tell me in Texas at the moment, like, is it correcting at this point in time? Are we seeing the property market starting to kind of cool down after the mayhem we've just seen, or what's it looking like?
I mean, it's kind of leveled off still. The thing is that Texas is still so much cheaper than everywhere else. Everyone in Texas is like, their heads are blowing up with how expensive things are. But if you're from California or New York, like I was, they're like, this is still cheap. So it's kind of stayed stagnant. I think New York is starting to correct itself a little bit.
It's rough in New York. I'm still in New York, and it's really, really rough. But we don't have a lot more time. We have one more video I want to put out there so our viewers can check that out.
Go. Hey, it's Todd Polke here. I've been a professional investor and wealth strategist for close to 2 decades now. And over this time, I've worked with thousands of investors to be able to grow strategic investment portfolios using property, using shares, using cryptos, using metals, using business investments, and a whole lot more. Now, I want to invite you to a free online event designed for investors who want to grow and scale their personal wealth portfolio to create alternate income streams in their life. Now, the event is called the 100K Wealth plan. And as the name suggests, I'm going to be guiding you through the step-by-steps you need to take in order to grow a personal investment portfolio and move towards creating 100K passive income in your life. You see, most investors who ever get started in the property investment world wind up getting stuck and never achieving this seemingly what's called elusive dream called financial freedom. They make a lot of mistakes. They don't have a strategy in what they're doing. They don't have the right team around them. They don't know how to get access to the right deals. And they wind up just going back to the exchange time for money, financial slavery trap. And I want something more for you in your life. I want you to have more choices. I want you to have more freedom. I want you to have more opportunity for you to be able to live the life that you want to lead, unlimited by how much money you earn. But in order for you to be able to create that, you've got to get a brand new set of rules in how you play the money game of life. And I'm going to be giving you those rules. I'm going to be giving you 20 years of systems and strategies and experience that I've created and accumulated over these last 2 decades, not only from achieving the results of my own portfolio, but working with thousands of investors. I'm going to be laying it all out on the table to you in this exclusive free online event. I would love for you to be a part of it. So here's what you need to do from here. What you're going to find is that on this page is a link to get yourself signed up. So you need to click on that link, you need to fill out your details, you need to press submit, then go in your inbox and find the confirmation of that. So you get all the details right there in front of you and lock it in and be there. It's going to be a great event. Can't wait to see you there, and make sure you click on the link, fill out your details, and let's get together and go and jam on this investment strategy stuff.
Well, Todd, take us home here. We're almost out of time. How can people contact you, get a hold of you, or learn more about the work that you do?
Yeah, look, what I would love to invite everyone to do is that I run this free online Facebook group called the Wealth Dojo. And it's absolutely free. It's a community of people who want to take better control of their finances, and they want to learn the education that we should have been taught in school, right? How to take care of our money, how to actually learn how to invest, how to actually start creating a radically different financial future. And so it's called the Wealth Dojo. It's absolutely free to be a part of. I share a lot of trainings in there, a lot of free content that no matter where you are starting from right now, if you're just starting out, right, or if you're an experienced investor, you're going to be able to come in there and be able to find some really cool stuff just for you. To be able to make a difference in the future. And you'll get to hear about all the online events and the free trainings and stuff. I give a lot of stuff for free, and that's a great place for people to be able to start.
And all the links are flashing below. So, Todd, thank you so very much. You're an amazing guy that's doing amazing work that's helping so many people. And maybe I'll see you at the Australian Open or a penguin race. Or
penguin race, I think, is where we're going.
Yeah. I'm going to join right now. I think that's important.
There you go. There you go, Steph. Steph, you always beat me to the gun. I tell you. Todd, God bless you, sir. Thank you so very much. We'll see you down the road.
I appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. That was awesome, Steve.
It was awesome. But we're out of time, and we're going to say goodnight there. Steph?
Oh, quick shout out to Ashley Bloom.
Yes.
Can we do a shout out to Ashley?
We'll do a quick shout out to Ashley. She's on Hofstra Radio here in Long Island. She's on Drive Time in the morning every Thursday. And we're going to end our show with a little clip from my old radio in the car. Let's check it out.
And I don't know about you guys, but I am feeling so good to be jamming out with you today from our WRHU Hofstra studios. We are going to have an amazing time together. I will do my best to play the best tunes. My name is Ashley Blum, and you are listening to Off the Charts. Coming up, we've got hits by Jack Harlow and AJR. But for now, here's East Side by Halsey on 88.7 FM, Radio Hofstra University.